Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another round of live stream art hives from the Living Room Community Art Studio. My name is Mary Cronert, and I'm just happy to be here. Folks, it's been a long time since we've had one of these, so thank you for being here too. You might notice a few things are different. Hello, everybody. Like, for example, we're on YouTube. Yeah, we're trying something new here and we're excited to see how it goes. So if you haven't already done so, you might want to subscribe to our channel and click on that bell thingy to get notifications about what stuff is happening. Yeah, that's how you do it here on YouTube, I think. But everything else is pretty much the same. It's just coming together to make art, hang out, and chat. That's it. So, if you're not familiar with the Living Room Community Art Studio or art hives in general, we believe in creating safer, braver spaces where people can come together to make art, to express themselves, to be a resource to one another creatively, but also in, you know, creative humaning. It's not always easy to do that thing out there. And when we come together in this way to make art with one another or alongside one another when we do in person events, it creates opportunities for us to see one another maybe a little more clearly, to learn about one another and understand what it's like to be someone else, but also to understand what it's like to be ourselves too. We grow, we change, we evolve. Each one of us is a work in progress. So, in an art hive space, in this space, we like to make space for that too. Oh my goodness. Hello, hello, hello. It's nice to see some folks out there in the chat. So, here's the other thing. If you'd like to participate in the chat, you're more than welcome to. I can only see folks who are logged in. I think that's one of the only ways you can chat here. So if you're not logged in and you want to chat, do that thing. And then you can say hi to everyone and we can have these conversations about what it means to be a creative human. On the other hand, if you just want to sit back and relax and do your thing wherever you might be, make art in your living room or your kitchen, wherever, or just listen or watch to absorb the art hive vibes without engaging in that way, that's okay too. You're welcome here. And hey, for folks who are watching once it's been archived, thank you for being here too. I know it's not always, the best time to tune into a live stream, so you can watch it whenever you like, and you still contribute to the creative energy and the creative social engagement that makes this space and this place important. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing a lot of emojis in the chat. I'm liking this. New things for Mary. Oh, here's another thing that's new. I almost forgot. Okay, so the other thing we're trying is we're inviting people to contribute ideas for each live stream, for each art hive we do. And you know what? I put them in a jar, and every week I draw out some new ideas. So we're looking for themes, materials, questions, activities, thoughts, moods, vibes, whatever it might be. If you haven't already submitted some or sent some our way, please do, because then we're going to draw it out and we're going to have some fun with it. It gives us a point of departure, a place to start, and maybe even a way to wrap things up. And this week, what I drew out of the hat, it was really interesting. And it's not a hat, it's a jar. And next week, it might be something else. But what I drew out of the jar this week, I drew doodling as an activity, and I drew out a phrase that I believe was submitted by Laura B out there. The phrase was a place for everything. So doodling and a place for everything. And those two things alone have already got us creating and having really interesting conversations about what those things mean. Because at first glance, they seem simple, they seem easy, they seem fun, they seem like things we understand. But when you dig a little deeper or let yourself reflect on them a little bit more, things get kind of complicated, but in a really nice way. And it opens up new possibility. So when you think about doodling, it's just the thing we do, right? Without thinking, absent-mindedly. But what I found really, really interesting is that people oftentimes think that it's something you do when you're bored or it's scribbling absent-mindedly. But when we came together in the Zoom Art Hive to experiment with these ideas, like, as an excellent dry run, what we realized was that it's not absent-mindedly at all. There's something really thoughtful about the process. maybe it allows us to focus on a different thing than things that might be distracting us. Hello, everyone. Oh my goodness. I'm seeing hooray for art hives. Thanks, Joanna. That's awesome. Um, but it's not necessarily absent of mind at all. And this idea about a place for everything is really interesting vibes as well. On one hand, it's something that makes us think of organizing and tidying, but on another hand, it's also communicating a sense of belonging and home. And there's things attached to there's extra strings attached to all of those things as well. So tonight, I'd like to invite you folks here to join me in a creative exploration through doodling about what it feels like or looks like or what the heck it means for there to be a place for everything. Want to join me? Sure. All right, let's switch over to another camera then and get started. Okay, so here we go. What do I want to create with today? I'm going to start doodling in one of my favorite comfort places, as you know, watercolor. Watercolor is something that I love, and I'm going to just doodle. And what this means is the same way that you might take a marker or a pen or a crayon for a walk across the page to do some doodling. I'm going to use a paintbrush instead, and I'm going to use my non-dominant hand. I'm going to see what happens when I do that, what frees up when I decide to turn off that part of my brain that wants it to go in a certain direction or do a certain thing. I'm going to see what happens when I just let it go where it wants to go in a slightly connected and slightly disconnected way. Does that make sense? And folks, wherever you might be, if you're joining us on this doodling adventure, please feel free to use whatever materials or tools you might have at hand. Doodling can use and involve a lot of different materials and mediums. Watercolor, for example. I'm going to be getting in some traditional pen and marker doodling in a little bit, but do what you want to do with what you have. And if you don't like the themes or the activities we've got going on for tonight, do something different. You might even want to do something necessarily act related. You might want to do something in more of that creative humaning realm. Maybe folding laundry is your creative humaning jam. Maybe you want to cook dinner while you're listening or watching. That's creative too. So if you're not in the zone to make art with us, you don't have to feel bad about that. You can just do what feels right to you. Yeah? Okay. All right. There's some cat hair already on my sheet. We might have to put that in the hat. Maybe art with cat hair. We've talked about it before, and I think Wendy, one of our community members out there, has made art with cat hair before too. So you know what? We'll figure it out. We'll put that in the jar for another time. Oh, hello, everybody. Oh, and I love what's happening too in the chat. Please feel free to let folks know what you're working on. If you've got any creative projects on the go, if there's things you're feeling inspired to do, but maybe haven't started yet, if you're looking for support with projects or activities or creative endeavors or creative humaning endeavors, feel free to throw them in the chat. We've got such a fantastic community out here. And when I say here, I suppose I mean everywhere. Because virtual art hives let us connect with folks from all over. And I see in the chat that there are folks from all over. And that's a lovely thing. And as I create, I'm imagining something else is going to start happening to me. I'm probably going to start calming the heck down. I've been really excited about getting back into the live streams. And so coming on here tonight, there's always that nervous energy. So I'm just going to let myself be and let this doodling do whatever it needs to do to me. And if anyone else out there doodling, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are on this process. Is it absent-minded? Or is it something that helps you become more focused, more in your mind? Because it feels to me like an internal experience. It's something that when you let yourself be present with it is one of the art forms that's purely guided by what you have, what we have inside of us. And yeah, I'm seeing crafting with cat hair is a wonderful thing. So, oh, a dog hair as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's lots of opportunities, lots of things we can create. Yeah. And for those of you who are new to the live stream or forgot, because it's been a while since we've done one, this is not a workshop. This is not an art class. This is not a thing where I necessarily teach you how to do something. Archives aren't necessarily about that. That's not the main thing. What we do is be with one another, witness one another's work. We experiment, we explore, we create new opportunities for these creative discoveries to happen, kind of tolerating that sense of overwhelm within ourselves in those moments where we get scared or nervous that we don't know what to do. It's okay to sit through that. It's okay to just let that be for a moment. You can make some art about it. You can make some ugly art about it, whatever it takes. But trust yourself. Ah, yeah. So I'm seeing some folks in the chat. And again, this is a new platform for a lot of folks to engage on. Like I was mentioning, this is the first time we've done some work on here. So hello. It can be a new experience getting used to chatting on this platform. So give yourself, be kind to yourself. Do what you need to do. And make space for that feeling if it feels overwhelming or if you're feeling a little frustrated. Don't let it prevent you from doing what you want to do here, but you can make space for it. You can create a little place in your art for it to sit. Let's see. So my lovely little mess here, non-dominant hand. It's doing some interesting things. Let's see. And maybe I'll stop every once in a while to ask what this piece needs. I'm getting used to this too. Ah, it's nice. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Have Cheetah will you. I'm glad to be back as well. So my non-dominant hand is liking these swirly, loopy things. And yeah, if I was doing this with my right hand, it would want me to do certain things as well. It would be demanding that I filled in certain things in a certain way, in a way that I was used to. But because I'm using my left hand instead of my right, I'm learning new things about myself today. And I see Ashley saying there that, oh, what was that? Oh, love how free you are with this. Free, I think sometimes is just another word for experimenting and being okay with things that don't look like the way my brain wants them to look. Making room for ugly, making room for the contrary. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Someone's going to do it, so I had to do it first. Okay. All right. It reminds me also of what happens when you use different tools to create as well, which is one of the reasons why in that invitation I put out there to folks, feel free to suggest different tools I can use in making art. There might be things that I've never used before because every time you do something in a slightly different way or pick up an object that feels slightly foreign to you, it unlocks some new possibilities. Things I wouldn't have thought about before if I was just trying to do the things in the way I used to do them, in the way I want to do them. Let's see. I'm just using really simple materials too. I have my favorite go-to watercolor palette here, which is just the kind of water palette you find, in like a dollar store or school supplies, nothing too fancy. Ah, so suggestions, yes, seeing paint pouring come up. And you know what? It's gone into the so-called hat. It's gone into the jar. Paint pouring is in there. And that's something that I've never done before either. So I think that would be a really interesting experience for me, just to leap in and go for it. And in traditional Mary style, I might even try doing it without reading up on it a whole lot. I think there's something really fun. Uh, I love those moments of big failures, big fails. There's always something that I learned from those. And if folks watching me yet haven't already seen that, then that's what I'm here for, I think. I'm here, one of the reasons I'm here for is, if nothing else, to show folks, hey, mistakes can be interesting. And there are so many other people out there who can teach you how to do things. I'm here to play and to give you permission to play too. Technique, that can come anywhere along the way. You know that, folks. Technique is always going to be there for you if you want it. You can develop that. You can relearn it. So what do we have going on here? Oh, it's so good to be back with folks. And cookie art. Cookie art. Okay, Christine. There's something. I've done cookie art once, a very long time ago in a live stream. Yeah, maybe it's time to bring that back. Yeah, maybe it's time. So the absent-mindedness of doodling with watercolor is a very different thing, perhaps, than the absent-minded doodling that comes with using a more fixed or finite material, like a marker or something like that. It comes from the same place. just presents a little differently. Thanks for everyone. Thanks so much for joining, folks. All right. This is coming to a still point, I think. And the cookie art, just back to the cookie art. Snacking, yes. Uh, Ashley asking, Mary, did you do the cookie art or was it the art of eating cookies? I don't know if I've eaten any cookies on the live streams yet. No. I mean, that's definitely on the table too. There's nothing preventing me from eating cookies as part of the process. But no, just I think we painted them. I think I remember having baking just a plain sugar cookie and and then glazing them and then using food coloring diluted with a little bit of I think it might have been like a little bit of vodka or something like that actually, just to help it evaporate and give a nice glazy look to it. Just a tiny touch. And yeah, I just painted the icing. It was great. But now I do want cookies. After the live stream. After the live stream. I like it when there's a silly energy out there. That's never a bad thing. Never a bad thing. Let's see. Yeah, I think almost ready to let this kind of sit and dry for a bit, and I'll move on to the next stage. So what's really been interesting about all of this, shaking things up and trying some new things, is that it's reorganized my brain and the way things work. For a long time, we did the Zoom groups before the live streams, the day before the live streams, or the day after, rather. So it was live stream and then the day after Zoom group. And now we're having Zoom group before live stream. And I know not everyone can make the Zoom groups, especially folks who are living in other parts of the world or who working. But this lovely thing is beginning to happen. So, folks, if it's interesting to you, I encourage you to drop by, especially when we bring the themes into the space and we work on something together. And I want to send out a huge, giant shout out to the Zoom group this week for giving themselves permission to have conversations about the theme, which again, it's up there in the corner. We have a place for everything is the theme, and we were exploring that theme through doodling and through sharing space together and having these conversations. What it's done for me coming into this live stream is it's given me some really interesting, rich places to start from, thematically in my own mind, exploring what we're doing through art. So I'm already entering into this experience with a kind of excitement and a deepened process, a slightly deepened process. So, folks, if you're interested in joining, please do. But shout out to that Hive group because they're a huge part of me being here tonight and doing what I'm doing. Um, and I'd like to explore more of that. Yeah. And then let's see. Oh, and Joanne says, oh my goodness. So we're getting back to the theme of doodling. Joanne saying, 3 of my current favorite doodlings are large spirals. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Figure eights and pushing a nickel all over a large piece of paper using your pencil. Okay, see, there we have it, right? That's a perfect example of a doodle that I would not have thought of. And I would not have thought of using like a nickel, like an actual, like a coin to create art with. Joanna, oh my gosh. Okay, that's why we do what we do here. Yep, never would have imagined that. And now I want to try it. So thank you. And there is something about like using something like non-dominant hand or using something like a nickel or like a toothbrush, or I've seen people paint with mops or paintbrushes on really, really, really long sticks, which I think that might have been something that Matisse or Chagall liked doing. Can't remember. Um, but it does kind of just twist things ever so slightly for you. It makes it playful. It engages you in the experience in a completely different way, strengthening your relationship with the art that you're making. And yes, sometimes it can be frustrating, but opening up new possibilities all along the way. So, Joanna, we got to talk about pushing a nickel all over a large piece of paper using your pencil. I want to know. I want to know about that. Oh, thank you, Anthony Granny, with a question that makes sense. So, folks, again, if this is your first live stream, or if you're tuning in and maybe you've only ever watched our archived live streams on YouTube once we posted them, um, the Zoom groups, you will find a link through our events page on Facebook or the website calendar where we try, and when I say we, I mean me right now, to update all our events to keep them current, and we provide the links to everything there as well. So if you'd like to explore what we're doing and look out for more ways you can participate in all of that, check out our website page calendar, our event page there. Or if you're already a part of our Facebook community, just look out for the events and the links that are shared there. And we'll see what happens as we move forward. There might be opportunities to have more, you know, live streams are special and unique things happen in live streams. I'm not going to, you know, it's one of my favorite things to have come out of this weird, uncertain, wibbly wobbly, as my friend Carlos would say, time. Uh, over that we've all been sharing in some way over the past 3 years, that we've been able to connect, find new ways of connecting, and embrace things that maybe we wouldn't have before then, right? So if you'd like to learn more about joining the Zoom groups, check out our website calendar or Facebook events page. How about that? And in classic Mary style, I am. I keep saying I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to put this aside. Okay, time to put it aside. Time to put it aside. But I'm enjoying this experience, and I'm actually enjoying what's coming out of it. One more, one more. One more? Okay, now, okay. I'm going to put it aside because I want to try something else. And this is fun. It is, again, anytime, if you haven't tried making any kind of art with your non-dominant hand, and this could be anything with clay, it can be writing, um, drawing, collaging, give it a go and see what happens when you challenge yourself, when you let go of trying to challenge yourself. Because as doodling goes, I think that's one of the interesting themes that we're playing with too. That point where your brain just allows something to happen and doesn't try to make it into anything specific. Give it a go. So I'm still going to doodle, but I'm going to set this aside just for the time being. Where am I going to set it aside? All right, let's see. So this idea that of doodling and a place for everything. I've been talking a lot about doodling so far, but not so much about the theme, a place for everything. And I think that phrase alone, it kind of activates different things in our brains, doesn't it? Because on one hand, what I think of when I think of a place for everything, and I'm going to try and keep doodling this as I do this, is this sense of containment, right? Being organized. I think for everyone, and you know what? Correct me if I'm wrong. Keep me accountable. I'm not the boss of you. You probably have a whole bunch of other thoughts and ideas you'd like to throw into the chat. Please do. There, I think a lot of our brains go to a place of organizing, of tidying. There was a phrase, maybe there still is, A place for everything and everything in its place. Everything in its place seems to me, that phrase, I'm really glad that it wasn't included on the sheet, like the little slip of paper that I drew out. It might still be in there on a different slip, but when I think about everything in its place, that feels really restrictive, constricting. That idea of, we talked about this a little bit in the Zoom too. My first impulse is to say, don't you try and put me in my place. I don't have a place. I'm everywhere. I can do anything I want to. And maybe that's true. I hope it's true. Um, and I do believe that we can be so many things and in many places and dance with many things. We're built for doing the hard things. And the more we do them, the better we get at tackling difficult and challenging things. And what was challenging to us yesterday, today is a little easier. And we just move forward bit by bit by bit, right? So anytime I encounter that resistance in myself, that pouty toddler that's like, don't you tell me what to do. I have to remember that, okay, maybe the resistance is there for a reason. Maybe it's also a message to just be still for a moment and try not to react and see what happens. But I have a different reaction to the phrase, a place for everything. Very different reaction. And Christine was saying, okay, a place for everything makes me think of acknowledging each thing. Ooh, I like that. Nothing gets ignored. I really like that. That nothing gets ignored. Everything gets acknowledged. Nothing gets ignored. There's a kind of agency in that. There feels like a suggestion of we have the ability, we can, we have choice when we know what we're dealing with, right? We have choice. We have choice. But sometimes it takes looking at what it is we're dealing with to know what's there. So, yeah, a place for everything. I think there's something about relate to this, right? This everything in its place. And when things get messy or we can't see things clearly or we just feel overwhelmed, taking a moment to sort through and untangle and then re-envision how we organize things in our lives, whether it's tangled embroidery thread or just providing that sense of, containment. So it can make things just easier to access. And maybe that's within ourselves and around ourselves as well. And Joanna just saying, acknowledge does sound beautiful, doesn't it? Doesn't it, Joanna? I love that. So what do we have here? What else? A place for everything. Belonging was something that came up only towards the end of the group. And it's strange that I hadn't thought about it before. A sense of feeling like we're a part of something. That idea of everything in its place. It's not that we have to be in one place or in a place, or that, it just gives us a sense of comfort, at least to me, to know that there is a place where someone might belong. That's something we can change, right? What belongs again today in one place and tomorrow it might be another place it belongs in. And I feel that with the studio as well, with projects like this, projects of this nature, things are always evolving and changing. And if I thought that there was only one way or one place for something to be, or one way for it to be, nothing would ever evolve, nothing would ever change, and it would be stuck. It would just be stuck in this way of working that wasn't enjoyable and didn't really work for anyone other than for the system it was stuck in. Yeah, and I think Christine, yeah, belonging, just revisiting that sense of belonging, like everyone has a place for them. So I think there is a beautiful way for it can be really easy to think that there's not a place. If, from a human perspective, there's no place for me. There's no place for me here, might be true, but that doesn't mean that there's not a place for you somewhere else, somewhere out there, somewhere beyond, wherever you might be stuck right now, if you're stuck right now. And we can each of us explore what it takes to move out of one place. And sometimes we find places in really interesting ways. We find a place for ourselves. And if anyone has stories that they want to share about this, please feel free. But again, not the boss of you. I'm just some person asking questions. You don't have to answer any of these. But unexpected belonging. Has anyone ever had that where you didn't feel like there was a place for you, or that you would find a place where you were at right now that you could feel like you belonged? But just by shifting a small thing that you do, or looking in a place you hadn't looked before, maybe you found it. I know I've had that experience. So now what am I doing? I think I'm just scribbling. I am. But it's a nice thing to be able to listen to what my hand's doing. So when I was using my non-dominant hand, I had to listen to what it wanted to do. Now I'm back in tune, just kind of going with these impulses that come to me with a little more control. It's still really just making a mess. Okay, what do I want to do? So Christine has had that surprising belonging. Oh my goodness. Oh, and Ashley saying from day one, I've been welcomed by everyone in the living room. That's what our hives try to do. It's that sense of radical hospitality. Is that what it is? Oh, and that's a word to unpack as well. I should throw that in the theme bucket. What is radical hospitality? Radical hospitality is what? Radical hospitality. This could be a whole TED talk in there. It's not rainbows and puppy dogs. It's not love, 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 because we cannot, any one of us, offer that kind of unconditional love. But speaking of a place for everything, I think radical hospitality enables us to see or to make space for the fact that maybe we all do belong. Maybe we already belong. That's something that we haven't discussed. Maybe are we already where we need to be? Hey, Kevin. Kevin's saying, I surprised belonging. In sobriety and 12-step community. Never thought that'd be you, but here you are. Thank you. And congratulations. Thank you for sharing that. And congratulations. Surprising, right? Again, there's that resistance inside of ourselves. It's like, I don't want to, I'm not gonna, no, I don't need that. And maybe, and not to say that's your experience or your journey. Putting myself in that place for a moment for myself. But then, yeah. So what is there? Is there something else here? A part of this doodling, allowing, trusting, guided by something both, external and internal, allowing, giving ourselves permission to experience, to step outside of what we've known or what we think we wanted. Yeah. Because it's also true, I suppose. A place for everything, a place for everyone, means that perhaps there will be some unique places that we can claim as being a part of our own experience and that maybe other people wouldn't understand. I like that. Mhm. Yes, so throwing things in the theme, I'm going to use a whole bunch of words. The theme jar, the theme hat. Maybe I will find a hat. Maybe, who knows, maybe there's a really excellent, like, old hat out there that I can use to throw everything in because right now it's my rainbow jar. And Christine says, interesting. So we're talking about, I think, radical hospitality. We're talking about a place for everyone and everything. And Christine's saying my brain goes political fast, like how communities make space for everyone, how we determine where people belong, what someone has to do to deserve belonging. But that's a hot topic. Well, these are all interesting things. Not, I think these are things we can engage with and confront in a way, because I think if we don't take a chance to look at them and examine, what do we think about that? Where do we sit in that conversation? These are important things to examine. Yeah. Excellent. Oh, the squares. So let's see. The squares I'm using. So Christina's asked about these. These are glassine paper. Some of you may have heard before. It's it's food safe. It's the paper that your cookies are wrapped in when you go to, buy a cookie at a bakery. I love it because it has a certain kind of transparency. I've really been enjoying playing with them with bingo dabbers and inks and seeing how much color I can saturate these pages with. And tonight I'm going to see what happens when I overlay one thing on top of another because I do think, like Christine was saying, belonging can be a really interesting conversation. And it can be that one of the questions that I haven't asked tonight, what happens when we feel like we don't belong? Or what about in those spaces or places? Right. I mean, how do we create belonging? Who decides? Space for everything, a place for everything. And what am I doing now? Truth of it, I do not know exactly. I don't know. This is a part of the evening where I begin to just improvise a tiny, tiny bit. I have an impulse and I'm just following it. And my impulse with these papers were, well, what do we do? Can I use them to create an overlay in some way? I had an impulse to just gather these together and cover up what I was doing before. We shall see what happens. Hmm. So, oh my goodness, this is great. So Kevin's saying, interesting. I'm into anti-cancel culture communities, which are very interesting and challenging my biases. And well, this is another interesting thing about art hives as well. Uh, because they tend to be spaces that put dialogue first. Understanding. Understand, judge not. But judgment, I can't think, I don't think any one of us can say that we don't judge. And sometimes I think initial judgments may in fact be correct, but we don't know until we check those things out, until we learn about someone else and provide opportunities. Sometimes, yeah, I think for me in living room things, the test, the challenge is how is someone willing to engage in any kind of conversation? Because when people aren't, maybe they're not in to a safe enough place to share space with other folks. And it's not a bad thing. It's just a place where someone might be. But I agree. I think there have been times where if I had gone with that initial judgment, if I had just decided to push someone out of that my life for that moment, I would have missed out on something really enriching and something that does exactly like Kevin was saying, teach me about who I am, but also teach me about how I can be a little bit better at creating space, opening up space for others, or learn how to step into other people's other areas, other spaces with more respect and more appropriately because we don't know what we don't know. Yeah, but I like that. And so this is, it seems like there's a lot of interesting projects going on out there. Ooh, yes. A lot of interesting conversations, and I'm loving the phrase that's Kevin's just thrown out. Identities and intersectionality. There we go, right? Sometimes, yeah. Well, how do we welcome ourselves into a space? Does that make sense? Maybe it doesn't. But there is a piece here. If we're always growing and evolving and learning more about who we are, catching that judgment might be important to us later on because we might, be judging ourselves in a cruel and unusual way. So there's a compassion piece in there too. Let's see. Artist hack. Just glue it all together. I think that's what I've just done. That's what we do. And Kevin has a really interesting point then too. Literally no one is canceled. Everyone is open-minded, at least and willing to hear people out. So this might be a very specific culture and community that you're speaking of when I'm speaking in a very general way. And I mean that's an important step to in a lot of people's journey when we can be in a place where we can tolerate that sense of, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? And oh, all the big feelings that come up when we hear something that we don't agree with, or we feel hurt, or we see someone being hurt. I think safety, safer spaces, like safety is always an issue. But if we're going to have braver spaces, we need to be able to engage in awkward conversations sometimes to learn about one another, to learn about ourselves from someone else. Um, oh my goodness. So Christine's writing about this topic right now? Amazing. Yeah. And Kevin just wanting to underline, not saying you can't respectfully disagree. And that's an important thing too. This is fantastic. Joanna's saying I'm learning, finally, how to be a friend to myself. It is astonishing. Astonishingly amazing. And congratulations to you too. It's an ongoing journey, I think. Because if we change, if we grow over time, we're going to have to befriend ourselves again and again and again and again, aren't we? I think that's just something, I think that's an interesting thing to consider that a place for everything, again, returning to that theme, always contextual, always shifting, always reorganizing, right? Oh, and Kevin dropping something else beautiful, saying, just congratulating Joanna again. You're the only constant in your own journey. Oh, I don't need to say anything. I'm just gonna let the chat take over because it's doing the thing. Okay. So all I need to do, all I need to do to satisfy this curiosity I have in me, and again, folks, this is just an experiment. Woo-hoo-hoo. Put that aside. Scissors. Scissors. Here we go. And yes, please continue the conversation. Continue the awesomeness. Oh, that's lovely. Kevin saying, I missed this. Thanks for being up and running again, Mary, and everyone else behind the scene. Shout out, Anthony Granny. And you know what? All the folks here who are, I think, everyone who's taking part, everyone who makes space for this, tunes in, what have you, participates in the conversation, listens from afar, watches while they're doing something else, has us on in the background. I think everyone plays a small part. And I'm not just being lovey-dovey there. I think it takes a lot of faith. Creative community takes a certain leap of faith, having hope in a situation to understand that we're not alone and that we don't have to be alone. Even when we're on our own, as we've said before. So, folks who might be listening or watching and not necessarily participating in the chat, I want you to know that you're just as important because I imagine you, I envision you out there, and I think folks in the chat might as well. That there's a larger community at play here. And just because we don't see it or have evidence of it right now in front of us, that doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Okay. Part 2. Part 3? Part 3. Part 3B. And it is good to be back. And I'm glad that it's here. And I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback about, what being here is like. And please, again, if you haven't already done so, feel free to subscribe and click on the notification bell. I've seen other YouTubers do that. I can't claim to be a YouTuber. All I want to do is make art with people like this. Just want to have opportunities to play with folks. Christine's saying, interesting. Yeah, just having opportunities to listen to myself and the creative impulses that come my way. And I don't always have that, right? I think one of the things, we're busy, right? We don't always give ourselves chances to listen or notice things. And Kevin's getting a sense of what's going on here with my anticipating the next steps in the process. Yeah. And it has felt like the process. Exploring, reflecting, conversing, and just kind of repackaging things or this whole process of coming back online in these live streams and with the Zoom groups on Wednesdays has been an experience in placemaking. It's been an experience in exploring the phrase we're playing with tonight, oddly, a place for everything. And I think no matter what we do, we'll always find a way to move through and to create through and around things. But changing things up has given me, it's just allowed me to get back to a playful space, which is a really important thing in any kind of creative self-expression. It can't always be about products. Yeah. Scribbly vegan Swiss cheese, Kevin says. Let's see. Well, let's have a little look to see what happens here when I do this. Hmm. 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 Is it doing what I want it to do? Do I want it to do anything at all? I don't know. Let's scribble a little bit more. I'm going to scribble over the scribbling and see what happens. But as always, as in every live stream, what I love about what I create, and sometimes I don't necessarily love what I create, but what I enjoy immeasurably, so much joy comes from this, is that whatever I create is a co-creation with whomever I'm chatting with here, whomever I'm imagining out there in the live stream. That is a true thing. This wouldn't have been able to happen without you. So thank you for being here and thank you for watching. And I hope folks have been creating at home too. I mean, you don't need to, but oh, Joanna has a really interesting comment. That reminds Joanna of the circle of control doodle art. So I think I need to learn more about what that is. Tell me more, Joanna. Tell us more. But yeah, there's just something that happens when communities come together online, in person, wherever they might be. There is circle of control. I was going to say circle of influence. Something happens, which is another really interesting reason, excuse to get out or to explore, to connect with other things that maybe, and this is creatively speaking, cause us to feel a little like, oh, what's that? I'm not sure what that is. That's interesting. Oh, oh, so Joanna's saying, I am referring to your current art play, Mary. Have we discovered a new technique? Have we discovered a new approach? Are we creating a whole new thing? I don't know. But something interesting is happening. And I'm excited by it. So, this might be an interesting place to leave off right now. Just having this here. I am fascinated by what this is, and I want to keep working on it. Let's see. What's interesting, so there is a circles of control exercise. So it seems like everyone has something to explore with regards to that phrase, which maybe is another one that should go into the hat slash jar slash whatever I'm going to use next week to draw out another theme and material to use. The circles of control, that feels like, and Christine's asking too. Ah, interesting. So Joanna's saying the area, so circles of control, through Joanna's eyes, the area highlighted through the circle is a symbol of what you can control in your life. Everything outside of that is beyond our control. Interesting. And it seems to be, there we go, some conversation, some understanding between Kev and Joanna about that. And that's interesting. And that exactly, I think, is one of the underlying influences of this. Again, if we're working with that theme, a place for everything, let's go a little closer and see what happens. I wanted to push all of that to the side so we can see. So yeah, when we're talking about that sense of a place for everything, then perhaps that's what this is, right? And Kevin's saying in the circle, things you can control, and the outside of the circle, you don't have control over those things. So you write things that are bothering you either in or out. And maybe that's something that I can do on this. And I have Other scribbles I've done today have been just that, writing words or phrases or random things that I want to let go of, things that might be in, this scribble scrabble that's outside this other scribble scrabble. It feels more fluid and flowing and colorful and vibrant and life affirming. And then for me, right now, anyways, this more graphic black and white scribble scrabble. This is something that perhaps I break through from time to time, or I want to break through more, or something provides context. Maybe it's not such a negative thing. Maybe it just provides context for me, right? And allows me to notice the good things, the better, vibrant things when they are present. Maybe that's what it is, right? There's lots of interesting ways to explore this theme. And as always, I think I'm going to have to come back to this piece. And I might see which place, where does this work best? What do I like to highlight? If I have it like perhaps is that what I want? Do I want to highlight something that has a little more vibrancy? Like that is something that pops? Gives me an opportunity to explore perspective as well. Maybe that. Maybe that feels right. So next steps. I think I might cut out a few more things on this. Maybe not. Maybe I'll glue it down. I think definitely I'll glue it down. Ooh, hoo, hoo. Sometimes, and Kev says, yeah, that's right. Just on this conversation, sometimes outside the circle just is. Just is. Doesn't always have to be something heavy or big or difficult. Just is. Just is what it is. And that's okay. Just taking an opportunity to have a little bit of focus here. Oh, I like this. I like this a lot. Well, folks, I'm going to continue exploring this and working on this as ever is with any live stream. That's what happens. I tend to just go for it. And I think some reason I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be able to finish this in the time I have. No problem. But no, it's always a work in progress, a work in process. It's just what it is. I'm just what I am, I guess. Oh, there's some love coming. Thank you. Well, for today, I also need to thank everyone who has helped build up to this point. Thank you for everyone who's been patient while we've been returning to live streaming. Thank you to everyone who's been working with us in different ways or behind the scenes in the community to help us do what we do. Thank you to everyone who is supporting us. As you'll notice, there's that little symbol right there for coffee. If you'd like to give us a little donation to say thank you. You can buy us a coffee, throw some money in the virtual tip jar that's over there on our coffee page. You can also check out our art shop that's there. We've got some really cool stuff, and we'll have more stuff there soon too. We're exploring different things and exploring ways of connecting and creating with one another and shining a light on the work that's being done. So thank you for being willing to take that journey with us. Yeah. And a lot of thanks to Anthony as well. Thank you, Anthony, for helping make this possible. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Oh, I can't wait to see what the theme is next week. Right. I'll draw another one on Monday and share it with you so you can prepare and start imagining what you want to create with us if you come to the Zoom group, the live stream here on Thursday nights, or just on your own, just because. And if you'd like to share the work you've made today or share other things you're working on, I'll share this in a show and tell post over on our Facebook page and our coffee page. Feel free to add in or comment or share what you've been working on, just so we can appreciate all the fabulous creativity that's out there in the community. All right, folks, that's it for me. Have a wonderful night and thank you for being here. I'll see you again next week. Take care. And until we can connect and create with one another again in person, which might be soon, I can't wait to connect with you and create more online. Bye, everybody. There it is. There we go. End stream. Bye.